This is a video I didn't want to have to make. I wanted to be doing the voiceovers for part 4 of my Introduction to Economics series so I can get that up. I wanted to put up the first video in my new Quickie series. But that's going to have to wait. Because there's a video being thrown around by a lot of people from Jim Jesus, whom regular commenters will recognize as someone I've intellectually trashed time and time again, going against me out of nothing but butthurt. He says I'm this horrible person because I had the audacity to call Matt Zwolinski a liar. Here's one way you can tell a liar. They make or imply the assertion that we can't know that someone's lying unless we can read minds. Even though anyone with any sense knows that isn't true, and this article by Zwolinski gives us the perfect example of how we can prove it. Here's his lie. This principle, the non-aggression principle or non-aggression axiom, hereafter NAP, holds that aggression against the person or property of others is always wrong, where aggression is defined narrowly in terms of the use or threat of physical violence. Notice that he does absolutely nothing to support it. He cites no sources and quotes no prominent libertarians, because they all say otherwise. Other things, such as fraud, are included as violations of the NAP. An early popular internet article about the issue is Understanding the Libertarian Philosophy by Joseph Knight. In it, he says, some laws, such as those prohibiting murder, rape, robbery, and fraud, are laws against the initiation of force. Enforcement of such laws is the application of defensive and or retaliatory force and is appropriate for government in a free society. Another early bit of libertarianism making the rounds over the web was Carrie Pearson's The Philosophy of Liberty, which also specifically mentions fraud. For a prominent and undeniable libertarian, how about Chapter 1 of David Bergland's Libertarianism in One Lesson, where he wrote, "Government should be limited to assisting the citizens in defending their rights against anyone who violates or threatens them. Therefore, laws which penalize such actions as murder, rape, robbery, theft, embezzlement, fraud, arson, kidnapping, battery, trespass, or pollution, a form of trespass, are valid uses of government force because such actions involve someone violating the rights of another." Not good enough? How about Murray Rothbard? Here's what he wrote in Chapter 12 of The Ethics of Liberty. Defensive violence, therefore, must be confined to resisting invasive acts against person or property. But such invasion may include two corollaries to actual physical aggression: intimidation, or a direct threat of physical violence, and fraud, which involves the appropriation of someone else's property without his consent and is therefore implicit theft. And we know Zwolinski read this because he saw fit to quote mine it in point number 6. The hard part is finding a prominent libertarian who doesn't include fraud as a form of force. The reason why Zwolinski is a liar is because, in his article, he proved that he knows this. Again, I refer you to point number 4. Libertarians usually say that violence may legitimately be used to prevent either force or fraud. But according to NAP, the only legitimate use of force is to prevent or punish the initiatory use of physical violence by others, and fraud is not physical violence. He knows that libertarians include fraud in their prohibitions. But never mind all of the times people have shown how fraud is a form of force, he just arbitrarily says that it isn't a violation of the NAP because potato. He knows that fraud is included, but insists that it isn't. He is lying. This is more than enough to prove it. If this were testimony delivered in court under oath, he could absolutely be charged with perjury. But let's say you still don't buy it for whatever reason. Okay, fine. There's a smoking gun. Let's look at his claim about the NAP again. Where aggression is defined narrowly in terms of the use or threat of physical violence. What have I been saying? What have I been telling you to watch out for years? What have I been saying to watch out for by politicians, pundits, and the news media? I'll give you a hint. Is defined narrowly by whom? Yep, Zwolinski right off the bat used passive voice, a deliberate way of constructing his sentence in such a way that it glosses over the fact that he can't point you to one single libertarian who actually defines it that way. Not only does he post no support for his claim, he took deliberate action to cover it up. The whole central theme of his article, that the nap only applies to physical violence, is not only completely unsourced, not only proven by him that he knows this not to be the case, but was also deliberately covered up by him using the passive voice when he first made the assertion. But defined that way, by whom? If libertarians don't get to define the nap, then who does? Certainly not Zwolinski, and this is case closed. Zwolinski deliberately lied about the central principle of libertarian philosophy in order to make the points in his article. How can there be any denying it now?